Hello and welcome back to Boston Commune.
This week's incredulous installment will feature commentary from Comrade Scott, Joe, Ellie, Chris, and myself. We discuss the flaming ocean, folklore of American independence, a manufactured debt crisis of epic proportions, why corn doesn't live up to the hype, Venezuela's struggle against vaccine apartheid, and the great duck invasion of Baton Rouge. My left ear is currently blocked by a painful infection, so hopefully this episode sounds okay. At least I get Medicare, am I right? Hey!
Please do us a favor, share this content, do yourself a favor, enjoy your Epoch.
It's such an encapsulation of Trotsky in a fucking nutshell. It's, it was the greatest speech I've ever heard. Did you vote for it?
No.
Fuck no. Did you listen to him? Come on. Like, just because he talked good don't mean he was saying anything.
Trotsky talked good. I'm on something tonight. I don't know what.
Like, I honestly
On
have
the
to spend
Boston
the whole
Commune. Sorry.
I just spend the whole working group resisting the urge to ask you if you're on speed.
Not on speed. My God, dude. Not yet, at least.
Do speed.
I can't afford it. Want to get a jetpack? Can't afford it.
It is very expensive, actually.
I used the survey break in the meeting to go buy weed from my roommate.
Nice.
Gonna smoke it out of that snail?
That little snail that I got. Yeah.
Joe.
Yes.
What do you know? The world's on fire. How about yours? I'm gonna say this is not the way we like it, but we'll never get bored. That's the future.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. People saw that. The Eye of Sauron opened in the ocean. A gas main broke, and we got a little cool circle of fire in the ocean that they eventually put out. But still, more of this is going to happen. It's not good. Coupled with that is the video of the oil industry lobbyists and executives saying that they've been fighting against carbon taxes and they've been keeping climate science from seeing the light of day. And that's wonderful because then the 4th of July happens. And really, what are we celebrating? We're celebrating exploitation and Western dominance and really just oil. It's what this country is, baby. I watched Syriana last night, so I'm in like a mood too, like all about like I'm just totally just reevaluating the Bush era. But never ended. It's where we are, baby. Woo! Talk about how America's more bad, Joe. Talk about other things.
I did want to. Never mind. It's too late now.
Go on. I'm very curious what Jesse's about to say. I will drag it out of you. No, just kidding.
Jesse, go
Well,
first.
two things. One, I thought when you were talking about those videos, I thought you were talking about the videos of the people that were protesting the pipeline
That too.
getting like attacked by helicopters and
Yeah. It's the Biden administration. Again, actually, that kind of proves my point that we haven't ever fucking changed because anybody who's like wants to reform the problem, anybody who wants to move away this country from its dependence on oil is marked a fucking terrorist, even if they're fucking citizens, and they're fucking blackbagged, and they're treated like shit, and they're treated less than human. So, Jesse, actually, thank you for bringing up that point. Thank you.
And two, maybe because I listened to that little teaser that was on the Chapo feed. What's that show that Matt is doing with
Hell of Presidents?
President.
Yeah, we listened to the
Yeah.
first episode over the weekend.
Yeah, it's great.
Hava and I.
It's great. And so over the weekend, I was just thinking that the 4th of July is really like, it's like a way for us to celebrate how like the bougiest rebels set out to create another empire.
Yep. They just couldn't do with the land what they wanted in their other countries, so they came here to start their own empire.
And it really, the combination of that and listening to a commentary, because Proles of the Round Table, they started putting out old episodes that they never finished producing.
That's a cool name.
They had a discussion with the Marx Madness crew on Harry Haywood's autobiography called Black Bolshevik, which...
Motherfucker, I have to listen to this. Jesus.
As I mentioned in the last episode, one of the Marxist Menagerie readings that I did was an excerpt from Black Bolshevik. But it's hard to really internalize just how much of this nation's wealth was built on slavery. Like, the entire fucking Southern economy. The only reason that the North wanted to do away with slavery, and I don't care what you tell me about, like, oh, well, we wanted support from Britain. Like, I don't care about any of that shit. I'm 100% convinced that it was, if slaves aren't profitable for us up here, then that's not fair. You guys can't do that.
It was also like, we want more wage slaves, and we want them up in the north.
I agree. Sorry.
It just really clicked for me, like...
America has basically been for two different groups of elite people. And that is the merchants and the yeomen. And how we would translate that to, like, modern discussion would be like people who own finance and people who own things. And people
Small
who...
business.
Yeah, basically, people who own finance and people who manage finance, and then people who own things and people who sell things. That's the divide. And the South were people who sold things, and the North were people who controlled finance. But I certainly do agree that, like, that 18th century philosophy that, like, if we can't have it, no one should, more than anything else.
Well, I mean, you see that now with people who are like, well, I had to pay for college, so that's not fair. Like, nobody should be able to go to college for free if I had to pay for it. If I'm not allowed to have economic security, then nobody can. And, like, if I can't... Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about. I was very tired when we recorded this, and I couldn't find the words that I needed. So, when we really look at the amount of wealth in this country, and I mean in its totality, including the capital controlled by the bourgeoisie, it becomes very difficult to account for it all, unless we turn the clock back several centuries. All of the land here, the minerals, metals, vegetation, rivers, valleys, etc., used to be something of its own entity, something to be respected and borrowed from as needed by the people who actually lived off the land. It was only through violence and hubris that the colonizers absorbed more and more of that entity for themselves. Only through the invention of privatization and private property that nature became crop fields and mine shafts, and only through the repurposing of humans as capital, as slaves, as machines, which were not even privy to wages, that resources became commodities. Everything here was maintained by masses of workers, which were determined not to be worthy of human rights. It would be impossible for the wealth generated by the abused, oppressed, and enslaved masses, and concentrated into the hands of the American ruling class, to not have an unfathomably outsized influence on every aspect of societal life, from the type of infrastructure we prioritize in the Northeast, to the delegation of voting centers in the Southwest. And look, I'm not saying that development is impossible without slave labor, rather the opposite. That America's huge surplus of capital, mostly owned by a small group, are the wages withheld from the workers of the world that built America. I need to put my music on.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's slams going.
When he gets the slams, his brain works.
Yeah, my brain is broken, and then I inject slams.
Runs on slams. High octane slams.
All those blast beats, they put the cells back where they're supposed to be.
Premium octane slams.
The way that I... Okay. The way that I like to think about it is my brain doesn't naturally have a rhythm, so I have to introduce one.
Oh.
It's like a pacemaker, but for my...
Your brain waves.
Admit you're white without saying you're white. I have no internal rhythm.
Oh, that's true. I can't dance for shit.
Sorry.
Beautiful.
Can I have what Scott's on? Because he's hilarious tonight.
I don't know.
Scott's just on joy.
I'm just feeling good, bro. I don't know what it is, man. I said it was like a 6 at the meeting. I'm like an 8. I don't know why. Maybe I'm dying. Joe, talk about student debt.
Maybe the joy of my company is just too much for Scott to handle.
Well, hey.
Yes.
It's Comrade Gup Gup.
Hey,
How you doing?
I want to talk about happy things.
Yeah.
I want to talk about happy things, man.
Yes.
Good thing I'm here to do the exact opposite.
Yeah, Joe, talk about how student debt will crush us all into a pile of anxiety and suicidal ideation. I don't know.
I would actually want it, because we already talked about it for like half a second. I want to just say one little thing about Empire Day and like the concept of 4th of July. Because I was thinking about this, not to be too much of a nerd, but like in Star Wars, there's literally like a 4th of July style holiday known as like Empire Day, which is like the day.
Not to be too much of a nerd, but I'm going to mention Star Wars.
Which is like the day like Palpatine declares himself emperor, and like it's depicted as like the Star Wars version of the 4th of July. It's like, oh, well, those people who are like thoroughly indoctrinated is like, oh, the Empire Day, it's great. Like, all hail the glorious Empire. And anybody with half a brain is like, yeah, this sucks. And it's a reminder of like hegemony.
I can't believe they celebrate that.
I'm going to end up having to watch the prequels again, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
What do you mean you can't believe they celebrate? It's not real.
I get really picky about shit that happens in movie scripts. I'm like, that's not plausible.
No,
you're one of those people. Oh,
it's
no,
totally
this isn't a
plausible.
TV episode.
Hava's not the same way. I'll say that.
What do you mean?
I don't think they would. They don't get
you're right. No,
worked up.
Hava will believe anything.
Yeah,
just be like, okay,
it's a fucking movie. You should. That's why.
Yeah, it's in a TV show, so it's not even a movie.
Oh, okay. It's in the
what did that happen on like the fucking Clone Wars show or some shit that I didn't fucking watch because who fucking watches those? If you watch those, I'm sorry. They're great. They're the best things ever. I'm sorry.
No, it's the successor show directly after that one.
What was it called?
Star Wars Rebels. I was in their target.
I don't want to fucking talk about Star Wars.
Yes.
I was about to segue off. I was about to segue into Student Debt anyway, so it's not a clean segue. But speaking of things,
Joe, just talk about
the will to live. That's what I'm literally doing.
Student debt is like Anakin Skywalker, or no.
You were literally interrupting my segue into
the
student
youth
debt.
is Anakin Skywalker, and student debt is Obi-Wan with the lightsaber. There we go.
Fine, fuck it, whatever.
We're gonna lose our legs.
What legs?
Student loans. In the first half of this year, the student loan balance is growing 6 times faster than our economy is growing at. And the current student loan balance is at $1.82 trillion. It is now the second largest form of consumer debt, behind only mortgage debt. And of the 43.2 million borrowers, average student loan borrower owes a balance of $39,351 in student loan debt. It costs the average public university student a little over $30,000 to obtain a bachelor's degree. That's the average.
I'm so glad I didn't go to school. Holy shit.
It really is. It gets worse than that. So the national student loan debt balance increased over 8% last year. And as of last year, 9% of borrowers in public schools said they can't pay their loans. By July of last year, over 11% of adults with student loans reported that they were unable to make at least one student loan payment the entire year. Jesus. And to point out how absurd the idea of turning on student loans, like how absurd it is to turn the loan payments back on in September, the percentage of federal student loan borrowers who are actually in repayment, like they're actually paying their loans as of the end of the first fiscal quarter of this year, is 0.88%. Only 0.88% of borrowers are actually paying their loans, which is a 97.8% drop from the second fiscal quarter of last year. And only 8% of the student loan balance belongs to students who are actually in school. Only 8%. So 92% of the debt is held by people who aren't even in school.
So when's that bubble going to burst?
September.
And then the next recession begins. Get ready. Strap in.
So nobody can afford to pay their loans. Nobody's paying their loans, but the interest repayments, the payments and the interest accrual for federal student loans turns on September 30th, conveniently around the time that federal unemployment supplement is also set to expire. So
wow.
I've talked about this several times, but it's so incredibly jarring that it's for me that I can barely put it into words, like how jarring it is that like they're being like just so open about it. Like completely mask off of like loan payments go back on September 30th. We have set the unemployment insurance supplements to expire in September. So we're turning off the unemployment benefits the same time we are turning the loans back on. Because there's a growing number of articles about how people are panicking about the student loans. Borrowers are panicking. I mean, for fuck's sake, there were 3 articles in The Guardian this past week just about people freaking out about their student loans. 3 in the space of 1 week.
In a UK newspaper.
It's like a parallel to the genre of articles complaining about how businesses don't want to pay workers a fair wage. How that's turned into like a genre unto itself. There's now a growing genre of like articles about how people in like their late 20s and early 30s are freaking the fuck. People, basically anybody under the age of 40 with half a brain cell is freaking out about their student loans because they all understand that the loan payments are turning back on in 2 months. And this crushing anxiety that never goes away, this unshakable like mental burden of like, I am unbelievably fucked that never goes away.
I have a better Star Wars analogy, and that's the trash compactor. One wall is student loan payments getting turned back on. The other side is unemployment turning off, and it's just crushing them.
And what's the snake that lives in the water?
Joe Biden. Why not? Who cares?
Maybe we could use that ever-present anxiety as like a sustainable energy source.
Yeah.
Because we got like on the table, we got like wind, we got biofuels, which are horribly, horribly inefficient and definitely only exist because of the corn subsidies.
It's true.
But
is that like converting your car to like canola oil and shit? Like that dumb shit?
Yeah. Okay. So biofuel, like when you look at the input-output for what it actually takes to grow like a crop of corn versus how much energy you can actually get out of it. One, we're not eating this shit. We're giving it to other animals, and then we're using the meat from those animals to feed ourselves. Two, of the corn that we actually use in food products, we're using it to make like corn syrup and shit. Of the corn that we're turning into fuel, the amount of water that we're fucking wasting, fresh water, by the way, that we could be drinking.
Yeah.
The amount of fresh water that we're wasting on growing corn, it's not sustainable. None of it's sustainable. Like the entire cycle is unsustainable.
Which is actually to say, the entire institution of higher education is not sustainable. It must die. It must be destroyed. And it's bared out in the numbers.
Well,
the growth of like the student loan debt balance is outpacing the rise in tuition by over 354%. 95% of people with student loans in this country borrowed that money to pay for undergraduate education. And in fact...
So the problem is actually tuition and not just higher education.
Yes. Like
okay.
the growth
education
rate
is a good thing.
No, I mean, what I mean by the higher institution must die is like the profit.
Yeah. No, I was just clarifying.
Because like the growth rate of our student loan balance is growing at about 24%, which is like 7 times that of like the GDP growth of our entire economy.
If there was anything that makes me want to leave America the most, it's student loans, just because it's such a fucking pointless way to just screw over our generation. Like, I have 2. One is private, one is federal. I'm not even paying my federal. The only reason I would on the private level co-signer. And I just realized that the whole amount I borrowed has already been paid back. And just from interest, the balance is still above the amount that I borrowed, like after paying the whole amount back. It's just a fucking cash cow.
I have no idea what I'm going to do with my loans, because I have like, like $53,000 overall in student loan debt, but like $26,000 of it is federal. And like on the federal debt alone, I already have like $500,000 in like interest that I have to deal with. So like, I just feel like I am completely and hopelessly fucked.
And they put interest on it. What the motherfuckers? They made these rules they can undo anyways. Oh my god.
I'm like drowning in a sea of student loans.
Well, maybe there's a metaphor to be made with corn still, because
what's with corn this week?
It does photosynthesis considerably less efficiently than almost every other crop. So
corn sucks.
Yeah,
it's really a terrible food source.
America is just self-destructing at this point. Nothing they do makes any sense. Like they're doing anything they can to try and cling on to delusions of grandeur and power, and they don't care if they destroy everything.
I don't really think it's possible to look at what's going on in this country anymore, like really anything that goes on in this country, and like not come to the conclusion that like everything is just hopelessly fucked. Because like anybody with like a coherent like state of mind looking how our country is actually run on a day-to-day basis, like how the fuck does anything work?
Everything's a contradiction, and if you look at how it's founded, there's a whole George Carlin bit on how the whole idea is a concept, and like July 4th, it just makes me want to bash my head against the wall.
Which is funny, because like the actual event happened on July 2nd, so we don't even celebrate the holiday on the right day.
What?
Seriously?
Fuck
The Declaration of Independence was signed on July 2nd, but we celebrate on July 4th for whatever the fuck reason.
Was that the day it was like actually like ratified or whatever the fuck? Because they can't just.
They signed and ratified it on July 2nd, but for some reason we celebrate on July 4th. So we can't even get our holiday right.
Stupid country.
Stupid country. We can't even celebrate the event on the right day.
Oh my god. Anyways.
Like, this goes back to the founding of our country, that we are just that stupid as a country.
My favorite is like the basic idea of all men are created equal, except for everyone who doesn't look exactly like us is rich and
all men are
does
created
everything
equal,
we say.
except for the 200 people that Tom Jefferson over here owns.
And we were in apartheid state until 1971. I think people forget that.
That's right.
Like a legal apartheid state. Like you couldn't be with someone, redlining, all that.
Right, yeah.
It's never been a nice place. What's the story they tell you about Thanksgiving? The Pilgrims? Oh, the Pilgrims came here and they made friends with, and they call them Indians, instead of Native Americans, because, like, what do they care? And make it sound like, oh, it's just a tragedy. They just disappeared one day instead of, like, smallpox purposefully distributed, outright genocide. Like, you're given a completely
the colonists
different version.
working with tribes to kill other tribes that, like, the original tribe didn't like.
Classic Cortez maneuver, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a settler colonial state. I mean, it's no different than Israel and Palestine. And that's something I think a lot of people are going to have some discomfort owning up to, is the idea that, yeah, like, abolishing this place is not a bad thing because it's not a good place. It's not founded on any actual principles. It's a straight settler colonial state. Like, it's necessary. Like, you can't preserve it in the way that it is.
Like, it's amazing, like, the crop of news articles, like, not remotely understanding, like, the context of, like, yeah, like, oh, like, why is, like, the movement for Black Lives, like, linking its struggle to the Palestinian struggle? Because they're also living in a settler colonial state and suffering, like, the business end of that. So, yeah, why wouldn't they? It's like, all of these articles be like, how could this possibly ever happen?
Jesse, would you like to speak about Venezuela?
Vazuenelale, as you put it in the chat.
Another imperial operation by America. Actually, I don't know what you're about to talk about, so sorry I said that.
No, I just got lost in. I was looking at energy inputs and outputs for corn.
Well, okay. Staying up to date. All right.
We all have our hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're all nerds. It's cool.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that.
You haven't been paying attention to the literature.
I forgot to mention that the actual process of, like, growing and harvesting corn also uses a bunch of, like, oil and shit because of the machines. So
Yeah.
there's that too.
Just a
And
fucking.
I'm the one criticizing.
Unless you want to pay human labor costs, and
Just
can't
so
do
your
that.
fucking like Privia can get to work on corn oil. Yeah.
Don't they also use corn to put sugar, basically, like cornstarch and everything? As well,
Oh, yeah.
sweeteners.
Corn is in everything. Corn is in, like, every fucking food, and it's in plastic, and it's in everything.
Your Privia, yeah.
What is a Privia?
A Privia is a car.
Who is made by? Is it a real car?
Oh,
Or is it a car
God.
you just made up?
Oh yeah, actually I'm looking right now. Okay, so photosynthesis conversion efficiency for corn 0.8 versus tropical sugarcane 2.6. Jesus Christ. Beef requires over 30 kilowatt hours to produce 1 pound. Sorry. Anyway,
But yeah, we shouldn't come for the hamburgers, as Sebastian Gorka famously once said.
I wonder what's going to happen when the droughts really start affecting the supply chain for food. I don't think the U.S. keeps grain reserves. I think they hold like a monetary, like, oh, we can buy this amount of reserves. But I think there'll be food shortages. I mean, don't quote me on that.
Oh, I definitely think that's the direction it's going to go in.
Yeah, it'll be a famine, and of course, like every time that happens anywhere else, they'll point and look, see, that's why XYZ doesn't work. But yeah, no, it's coming. I can see it. We'll have a drought for 2 centuries, and then just business as usual.
Mm.
okay, so what was I supposed to talk about?
You said there was something about Venezuela.
Venezuela,
Oh, yeah.
the 3 vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, so Venezuela is
Oh, okay.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
Venezuela is rolling out its vaccination program with the help of socialist neighbor, Cuba.
So it slaps and whips.
Of course, it does the slapping, the whipping,
It does
Rips,
all of
yeah.
the things.
the ripping,
It's
the pew pew pewing.
All of the
And
things.
the World Health Organization is fear-mongering about the Cuban vaccine, which to me, I think is... I think it's a really
Thank you.
transparent attempt scaremonger about like the products of socialized medicine.
You know why it's so effective? Because it makes you a communist.
Or to be put even more bluntly, Pfizer doesn't want to dent in its profit margins for next year.
Yeah, that's more likely.
I always harken back to the Chomsky paper called The Threat of a Good Example. And because Cuba has the capacity to manufacture basically enough vaccines for like everybody, if they didn't have the sanctions, they would be able to actually get the materials that they would need to transport the vaccine from lab to human. It's like an artificial barrier between their productive capacity and ability to actually implement basically a global vaccine program.
Another a wonderful example of America making life infinitely more miserable for 90% of the population, all for the sake of profit.
Yeah, man.
And so Venezuela has procured the funding to, through the COVAX program, procure at least a sizable portion of the vaccines that they're going to need to vaccinate everybody in the country, but they're not saying where they got the money. And I presume that when Maduro breaks the news, it's either going to be Cuba or China or both. Maybe Russia. Who knows?
Yeah, I would think the Russians are a possible candidate for like giving out money because they've been actually quite good on like vaccine diplomacy.
Joe, can you come back to this zip code?
Oh, that was mean. I love it. Yeah, but yeah, hell yeah, we got that fucking vaccine.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter how they got the money for it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, it's doubly absurd because there's both the blockade on Cuba, which prevents them from being able to participate in global trade, and then there's the separate attempt to prevent Venezuela from participating in the COVAX fucking program.
Which is ostensibly supposed to be for countries like Venezuela.
Right. Venezuela attempted to pay into COVAX 4 times as of the middle of June, and were blocked each time.
Bill Gates, very unhappy.
Fuck that guy.
Because I'm pretty sure Bill Gates is on the board of COVAX.
Here's a quote from a spokesperson for the U.S. State Department.
Here we go.
For a high-risk jurisdiction such as Venezuela, financial institutions review payments to ensure compliance with various legal requirements, including the prevention of fraud, corruption, money laundering, and sanctions violations.
I will translate what that means into plain English. What that means is...
It is not possible for us to forcibly get Venezuela to pay us on our terms. It doesn't. We can't use like the jackboot of the IMF to forcibly pay them at rates that we find favorable. And therefore, it is very high risk for lenders who don't want a guaranteed rate of return on their own terms. To hell with the concept of what the risks of the market, because if a bank is involved.
So that's what that means.
To hell with the wishes of the country themselves.
To hell with the people, because...
Yeah, to hell with democracy, basically, yeah.
Well, yeah, the IMF and the WTO, they don't believe in democracy. They believe in guaranteed
exactly.
rate of return.
The whole world is run by a global hegemonic cabal of capital. It's awful.
Yeah, even the WHO. I think this is why this particular thing pisses me off so much more than everything else. Like, I find it totally believable of the take that we have about it, but I don't know, maybe it's because I come from a family of medical people, but like, you know, the WHO is supposed to be neutral. It's supposed to be.
That's the important word.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a thing that exists to promote the health of people. And now we have this thing that like has been just slaughtering millions of people and they're like, oh, they're like, we have to take everything that they say about this other, like, the communist vaccine with a grain of salt, which
Yeah.
is terrible. Because I want to be able to, I want to be
Instant
able to
class
believe
consciousness
them.
in a needle.
Yeah.
Oh no,
And
we're
if only-
terrified
if
if
only.
they get this free vaccine, they'll all of a sudden start reading like the Little Red Book.
Yeah, they'll understand capital in an instant.
It's very sick. I mean, obviously for like a number of reasons, but I think particularly sick is the fact that Cuba has the capacity to manufacture tens of millions of doses of vaccine, but they just can't get the fucking syringes because they're being blocked by American business owners, including a Swiss supplier that was scooped up by an American-based owner in 2020.
Someone makes a movie about coronavirus, make it about this shit.
Yeah.
Make it about how
This is just
capitalism fucked over everyone.
It's literally devouring our civilization in real time because profit motive. Like, we're being destroyed because we can't be bothered to let the Cubans, like,
If only
buy
Stephen Gaghan
syringes.
could make another movie.
And the planet is currently on fire because we aren't doing anything about the climate crisis. The climate crisis is not looming over the nearest hill. It is already here, and we are already seeing visible negative consequences as a result of it. Like, 100 people died last week in the Pacific Northwest as a direct cause of a heat wave.
Ocean's on fire.
The ocean is literally on
The eye of
fire.
hell opens. World's on fire. How about yours?
I don't like it very much. I'll never get bored.
Yeah. Hey now,
Sorry.
Jesse.
I didn't have anything funny to say about Smash Mouth.
That's all right. You're an all-star.
I'm gonna get my game on. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, like, yes, of course, it's very fucked up that we do have to end up sifting through all these statistics and all this data from the WHO. But like I said, that it was particularly sick because Cuba, if given the opportunity to distribute the vaccines that they're more than capable of producing using their own educational and medical institutions, the only reason that we don't have tons and tons of data on the efficacy of those vaccines is because we're preventing them from getting the testing apparatus that they would need to be able to deploy wide-scale testing. The whole G7 really is actively preventing the most productive medical researchers and doctors in the world from being able to save people's lives. I mean, Cuba sent thousands of doctors to help around the world last year, like when the pandemic was at its peak, at least, for us and for Italy and where else did it hit really hard? Brazil. I mean, Cuba has a history of sending doctors around the world to fucking save lives.
It's why there's that famous saying, I forget who said it, that like in times and places of crisis, when and where the United States would send bombs, the Cubans send doctors.
Exactly.
It's a good quote. I like it.
And now they've been reclassified as a state sponsor of terror.
The doctors have?
Just Cuba. Just the whole country. It's just a terrorist.
Good Lord. That
whole thing.
entire mound, the entire island is a terrorist.
Yeah, it's just that's Osama bin Laden.
Wait, why though? But why?
Because it's trying to impede on capitalist interests.
Where though?
Everything it do is in bad faith.
It hasn't happened yet, but I could see it how United States classifying Cuba as state-sponsored terrorism, like claiming that the Cuban doctors who are being sent to other countries to help them out are like they are agents because they're working on behalf of the Cuban government.
That is the story between the United States and Venezuela. Like, oh, just let us in. If you don't let us in, then you're going to starve to death. And then if you do let us in, then that means we have military control over this entire fucking country. I mean, there's a reason that the people of Venezuela stand in solidarity with Maduro in his attempts to prevent American quote-unquote diplomacy, because that's never what it actually is. As proven by, like, this Intercept article. I mean, COVAX is already really disgusting and corrupt, and the people that sit on the
board of directors.
Is that what it's called for, like an ostensible charity? Okay. Well, the people that sit on the
Bill
board
Gates
of directors.
is on the board of COVAX, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's still the only language they know.
Like half of the board is pharmaceutical manufacturers. So that's already like a serious compromise.
Mm-hmm.
But what do I know? All right, let's clarify the timeline. As of March of 2021, Venezuela had paid about $110 million of the $120 million required to receive help through the COVAX program, and then 4 subsequent payment attempts were blocked by UBS, a Swiss bank. A spokesperson for the bank gave no explanation aside from its compliance with regulatory requirements, including American sanction regimes. This leaves Venezuela as the only South American country to not receive any aid from COVAX, despite its attempts to fork over the funds required. China and Russia have supplied about 1.5 million doses to Venezuela thus far, and now, as of July, Venezuelans will be receiving vaccines from Cuba as well, which has autonomously developed a number of different vaccines in order to overcome its own sanctions. The World Health Organization is now warning against taking the Cuban vaccine, despite extremely promising clinical trials. Yes, the WHO is cautioning that the Cuban vaccine could be dangerous, as millions of Venezuelans go unvaccinated because of economic sanctions, though COVAX has swallowed up $110 million of Venezuelan state funding for literally nothing in return. Hopefully that helps clear things up.
All right. Ellie,
Yes.
would you like to go with your segment?
I'm Ellie and you can't make this shit up.
Oh, boy.
You can make this shit up.
What is this?
Oh,
Would you display this as a trophy?
Quack down. Oh, boy. Quack
Oh, yeah.
down.
I'm alright. I might be dying, I don't know.
I'm the one.
I hope don't die. You promise me
No.
you'll never die.
No, I don't think I will.
Alright, anyway, it's burp content.
It's, yeah.
That's what I have for you
Quack
this week. I
down.
have some burp content. Basically, I don't know. I know somebody who lives in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so I was thinking about asking her if she knew about this. It's just some ducks. Just dozens of ducks have taken over a
Burps.
neighborhood. Just a whole bunch of ducks. They've taken over a neighborhood, and they are
Whoa.
multiplying and becoming a nuisance to those who live here, which is great because the rest of this article is just like an interview with 2 ladies that live in this neighborhood, and they admit to like feeding the ducks.
Oh.
When there were not as many ducks, the neighbors fed the birds.
Oh.
Now they are dealing with around 60 ducks,
Good work.
which is like,
Good work.
yes, they played with fire, and now they
Yeah.
have ducks.
That island, that whole place is lost to the ducks. It's over.
Honestly,
That
I
community,
wish the
they have to
Canadian
leave.
Geese at my place of employment would do that.
Yeah.
Just feed ducks until it's taken over by ducks.
What if that's like a
Yeah.
side
Possibly
effect? What if that's like an inexplicable side effect of climate change? Like ducks just start taking over places.
Geese have
I
taken
would be
over
okay
Pfizer's
with
Andover
that.
facility.
Yeah.
What's the name of this place? Is it
East Baton Rouge.
is it really called Summa Court?
That's what it looks like.
Summa?
Yeah, I don't know. Summa? Like summa cum laude?
Oh, that's obnoxious. Okay.
I thought it was like a Universal Hub joke about fucking trying to say summer with a Boston accent.
Oh, no.
Uh,
This is the South. This is the South!
Oh, it's WBRZ.
Yeah.
soon it's gonna be
Oh.
East Baton Duck.
East Baton Duck.
Yep.
The famed East Baton Duck. Uh,
That's a goose. Not a duck.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Close enough.
That's what Joe wants to take over Pfizer.
And
What?
Anyway,
yeah,
yeah, that's,
everywhere.
And then they'll distribute the like Viagra and stuff. That'd be cool.
yeah, they can employ the geese. In,
The geese are coming for my job.
I'll be here all week. Yeah.
the geese will be... Tip your waitress. That's pretty much it. It's just like the women that they talk to are I need to start like not just reading the AP articles from the oddities page. I need to like actually read the local news ones because they're full of like much more local color. And like this whole article is just Jennifer and Debbie like talking about how much they love these ducks and they will miss them when they get relocated.
Oh, they're not the ducks aren't going to get relocated. That's not
This is
It's the humans.
This is very cute. The ducks have become attached to Richardson and her neighbor Debbie. They follow them when they walk on the sidewalks and even wait at their front doors until they come outside.
Yeah. They're sitting there being like, bread.
All right. Bread.
Please don't feed ducks bread. It's not good for them.
Yeah.
It's not.
Feed them your children.
I love it, but it's not good for them.
It's such a practical meal for a duck, especially like a pelican. That'd be something to see. What am I talking about?
I have a question. Do you guys think it'd be inhumane to feed ducks like aborted fetuses?
I don't know. Doesn't seem like they'd be good for it.
Huh. Yeah, no.
The internet says.
Oh shit! I fucked up. I didn't use the sitcom noises. It's fine. I'm doing this to myself, of course. Anyways.
Well, what do they do with aborted fetuses otherwise?
They don't use them for stem cells?
I don't think so. I think if they're already dead, they don't. There's nothing
to work with.
I think it's just.
Maybe they make them into fertilizer.
Medical waste at that point.
By the way, you can feed ducks cracked corn, oats, rice, birdseed, frozen peas, chopped lettuce, or sliced grapes. But don't give them bread.
Sorry. Oh no. All right.
I don't have nice things.
Joe, this is a nice thing. We're laughing.
Fair enough.
Come on, man. God.
You're not going to use something.
I want to talk about happy things, man.
Okay. Want to talk about happy things?
I thought you were going to drop a come on, man.
Come on, man. I want to talk about happy things.
I want to talk about happy things, man.
That was such a bad press conference. Holy shit.
What was he talking about?
He just didn't want to talk about Afghanistan. He had
shit.
He had like a list of like happy shit that he wanted to just rattle off, and everybody was like, "So what about the soldiers?" And he was like, "We're doing everything we can."
Hey, if you want to believe in aliens, I'm cool with that. I still love you. I don't care.
Are we okay with wrapping up?
Yeah.
Yeah, put a bow on it.
Put a bow on it. Flaming bow from an arrow.
Wait, the bow is on fire?
Yes, Joe.
How about yours?
No, stop. Oh my god. My name is Scott. Oh my god. My name is Scott.
His name is Scott.
My name is Scott.
Folks, and I have an announcement. There's some new sweaty wife. Jesus Christ. Everybody's laughing. There's some new Sweaty Wife music on SoundCloud right now. I'm finally releasing some music, some new stuff. Go to soundcloud.com/sweatywife. I'm also on the Bandcamp and under the same name. I'm on Instagram as Sweaty Wife. I'm on Twitter at Death Mullet, and I also, why not? I'll mention I'm on Letterboxd at Death Mullet because I'm the movie nerd. Whomstever would like to go next? Wow.
I'll go next.
All right.
Stuff.
Cue it up, Scott.
Yeah.
Tarmac and Gelad Taragra.
Well, hold on.
Yeah. All right. Do your shit.
I'm Ellie, and you can't find me anywhere, but you should, if you want.
Psychic reading.
You want a psychic reading? You should email Hava at Tarmac.
You know the thing.
Gelad@gmail.com.
Other
and Gelad Taragra.
His eyes uncovered.
All right.
His ice on cupboard.
Like, excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Tony Hawk, ex-Jihad. Yes. Tony Hawk's leg jihad.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
At
X Jellybean.
JLAD.
Sorry.
At gmail.com. I'm doing one for Binks this week.
Another one.
I'm doing another one.
We had a Patreon episode that was one.
Another one for the Binks.
Yeah. All right.
Joe.
What do you know?
I'm Joe. How about yours?
What do you know?
Yeah, I'm Joe. You can find me on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at JLFB96. Mainly talking about the Red Sox these days, but you know.
Oh shit!
Occasionally, you have some, actual political commentary, or me saying very
political commentary.
Ooh, whoa, that's a game changer. Whoa.
Hey Joe, what do you know?
Slow down with all the.
Use it, so it's not really much point in following it.
What, your Instagram?
Yeah.
You posted a cool picture of like a rainy window at Pfizer, and it was all in black and white, and I was like,
"Oh, Joe's trying to be artistic."
Well, it's because I was tired. It's like, I'm lazy. Oh yeah, and a deer.
I saw the deer that you posted.
Oh, that was a deer. Oh.
Yeah,
it was a deer.
Yeah, I happened to look up. It's like, oh, I see a deer in the door mirror. There was a deer. Right,
deer apparently.
I see a deer in the mirror.
Oh, good God!
Like a little before 6 in the morning.
That's the time to see them, because they go underground. Otherwise, they all hiding out in their deer bunkers. Comrade Gup Gup, why don't you go?
I'm Comrade Gup Gup. That's all.
Yeah,
that's it. And I'm Jesse, and you can find my music on SoundCloud.com. Did you just vomit?
No.
You can find my music on SoundCloud.com/contingents Boston. CONTINGENCE Boston. Remember to hit up comrade-rosie.org, select getting involved, choose one or more mutual aid groups to donate your time, labor, and or money to, because people really need your help right now. And
kiss, kiss.
To get you Comrade listeners up to speed on the menagerie. It's very distracting.
It's very. I turned it down.
I'm already listening to death metal, though.
All right,
so
go. Sorry.
Too
much.
That is quite the cognitive dissonance right there. Death metal and that.
So I actually started attempting to narrate Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism, in its entirety, and I got part of the way through chapter 1 before realizing it would take me the next year to fucking properly edit a narration for that. And you know what? I had to. I decided to go with our boy Slavy Slav.
Yeah.
Slavoj Žižek. I know he may not be the quintessential Marxist, but he wrote a very good book called The Relevance of the Communist Manifesto, and I will be narrating that in its entirety. It's pretty short, but I
already am eating from the trash can all the time.
He's already eating from the trash can all the time, and I appreciate that about him, and I want to share that with the people. So
I was so disappointed when I listened to it and it wasn't. You didn't do it in his voice.
The name of this trash can is ideology.
It's a hard voice to get.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not gonna like.
You mean
not particularly, but like I would become breathless very quickly. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. You have to be like, you have to assume that he's just like, he's like panting all the time. And
well, he is. I mean, have you seen him? Have you seen him when he speaks publicly? He's always like sweaty and flustered.
Yeah.
He's fucking awesome, dude.
I mean, it's part of my nature. In Slovenia, we have a wonderful story. A godlike figure comes to a farmer, and I will stop immediately, and asks him.
Yeah, he's the best.
He rules. We love him. Go to our Patreon at patreon.com/epic-incredulity. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram. We're more active on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, Ellie. And like Jesse said, get involved in something local government, local mutual aid, local something. Fuck government, actually. Do something in your community. And what do you say every week? You say butt tank dough.
Butt tank dough.
Oh my god. Okay. That's pretty good.
Because that is your epoch.
That's it.
For the week.
For the week.
If the dial of ideas was turned to low for the last few years, it's quickly moving into the hot position.
I was gonna say a burnt piece of ham, but I don't know what that is supposed to mean.
You can burn a ham.
You can burn a ham, yeah.
You can burn almost anything.
You can burn your face.
You can burn water.
Burn water? What the fuck? What are you talking about?
I don't know. You can leak things into
No.
water.
Very topical. The ocean was on fire this past week.
I'm an idiot, yeah.
Hey.
Yes.
Oh, God, I'm an idiot.
You can never count. You can't count it out.
I'm a dummy.
Fossil fuel industry. Actually, that wouldn't be the first time. The entire... Who's the sweaty guy that lost the debate to JFK?
Sweaty guy who lost...
Nixon.
Yeah.
That was like what prompted Nixon to introduce environmental reforms, was like that entire canal being on fire. What was that thing called? It's just a bunch of like
lost a debate to Kennedy.
It was like a bunch of toxic waste just burning. It was a normal thing. It was normal to experience the river is on fire. It's whatever.
That's possibly the greatest way to describe Richard Nixon. That's the sweaty guy who lost the debate to Kennedy.
I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah. I will
It's
think of
very
him that
accurate.
way forevermore.
Okay. Wait a second.
Oh yeah, they talk about the river being on fire in the
How do you
Cuban
say
tourism
that?
video.
What's it called?
Cuyahoga.
Cuyahoga?
Cuyahoga. There's an REM song called Cuyahoga.
Oh!
It's really good.
Oh, God damn it. REM got me again.
What was that?
You got
That was a bite?
by REM.
Is that chip?
What are you eating?
All right.